Hello, horror heads, and welcome to our show. Before we begin, I just wanted to give you a little heads up about what you're in for. Each week, Mike and I will be watching a movie from the horror category and breaking it down for you into easy-to-digest, bite-sized pieces. We'll talk about the plot, some production details, what we liked, what we didn't like, and our overall thoughts on the film. But don't think we're going to stop there, because for each episode, we're also going to take a look at another piece from the horror genre and provide you with some insight. Whether it's a TV show, game, novel, comic, or sometimes a sequel to the movie we watched, if it's horror, we'll be talking about it. I hope you will enjoy, and now let's get started. My name is Sheldon, and this is The Graveyard Shift, Horror with Sheldon and Mike. Welcome to episode 1 of the Graveyard Shift Horror Podcast, where we watch a horror movie each week and give you all the details we can cram into 1 hour. Details like the plot summary, some behind-the-scenes stuff, our thoughts on the film, plus a little bonus at the end. We're not film critics, we are not involved in the movie industry in any way, and we are certainly not experts on the genre. We are just a couple of guys that have a great love of all things horror, and we want to share that with you. And yes, I said we because I am not alone down here in the depths of depravity. Please say hello to my co-host, the mad, maniacal Mike.
Hello, boils and ghouls.
Hey, Crypt Keeper, how's it going?
Pretty darn good. Happy to do this. This is a nice dream of mine to talk about movies, and especially with someone who has an intense love for them that matches my own.
Absolutely. Yes, we've been wanting to do this for quite some time, so we finally got a chance to do it. Me and Mike met through another podcast that he's a part of, that I was a guest on a little while ago. We weren't talking for very long before we realized that we are both huge horror fans and decided that we should do a show together, so here we are.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike, how's everything been?
Pretty darn good.
Yeah? You feeling pumped? You ready to do this?
Oh yeah, this has been, we've been planning and postulating and percolating, and now it's time to perform.
Yes, so to start off with, we just drew a bunch of movie titles in a bag that, we were willing to start off with, drew them at random, and Mike, why don't you tell them what we chose for number 1?
The 1985 classic from Columbia Pictures, Fright Night, making tonight's episode, Won't You Bleed, My Neighbor?
Oh, beautiful. Love this one. Absolutely great. Released on August 8th, 1985. It had a $7 million budget, or possibly a $9.5 million budget. Apparently there's some discrepancy there. We're not sure.
It's that Hollywood accounting.
Exactly. We're not sure if they just, it was a simple accounting mistake, or somebody walked off the set with a briefcase full of money. Who knows? But that's okay, because they certainly made their money back no matter what the budget was, because it had a box office run of $24.9 million. That's not including anything like VHS rentals and sales, DVD sales, all that kind of stuff, merchandising afterwards. So this movie did all right. It was filmed in Los Angeles. It was rated R for nudity because it had a breast scene, violence and gore, profanity, alcohol consumption, and intense scenes. The plot revolves around a teenage boy who discovers that his new neighbor is a vampire and is responsible for a number of gruesome deaths in the area. When no one believes him, he seeks the help of TV horror show host Peter Vincent to put an end to the vampire's killing spree. It had a Rotten Tomatoes score of 91% for critics and 76% for audience, which is very unusual for a horror movie because usually the audience gives it a much higher score than critics do. It was directed by Tom Holland, who has a pretty good horror record actually, because he was also the director of Child's Play, The Langoliers, and Thinner, plus several other non-horror movies.
Yes, Thinner, the wonderful story of one man's gripping addiction to solvents.
That probably would have actually made a better movie, honestly. So it stars Chris Sarandon as the vampire Jerry. And Mike, Chris has a pretty interesting resume as well, don't you think?
Once I could make the connection between why he sounded so familiar, I just didn't see Jerry in this movie anymore.
No, it was tough. I know exactly what you're talking about. Because Chris Sarandon, at least maybe not most famously known for, but my favorite role of his anyway, it was the voice of Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
The Pumpkin King.
Exactly. And I believe you told me you looked up some things. He also voiced Jack Skellington for several other things as well.
Oh yes, just about every video game appearance of Jack Skellington. Like no stock voiceover characters for this guy. Anytime they bring Jack back, they bring Chris back.
Oh, that's great. At least he's keeping busy. He also played Mike the cop in Child's Play. And which is something that really made my wife happy when I told her. He played Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride. Also a great movie. Not horror, but still worth a watch for sure.
Yeah, it's like a kid's horror. Like, ooh, there's bones. Isn't that a fright?
Now, the movie also starred William Ragsdale, who's most famously known for being the lead character in the show Herman's Head. The Reaping, and of course, Fright Night 2.
And playing his girlfriend in a strange role, considering that she's played off as a cute little vixen in this movie, is Amanda Beers, who in a few scant years later would be known to thousands of Fox viewers and eventually millions as the show went on. Married with Children, she played Marcy Darcy, the very masculine, apparently, looking chicken lady, if Al Bundy is to be believed.
That blew my mind. I could not believe I saw this movie when I was a kid, and I was a fan of Married with Children. I did not get that connection until I watched this movie just recently for the second time. Absolutely, it's a total shock.
Yeah, and apparently she. It was also a shock to the director, who said that, the most difficult role to cast was for Amy because there just wasn't a perfect girl next door until Amanda walked in.
Wow.
So the real dark horse in this movie.
For sure.
But hey, she did it well.
She did. Absolutely. And next on the list of the cast, Roddy McDowall. He's got too many movie credits to mention, but absolutely he has to be best known for playing Cornelius in the original Planet of the Apes series. It's actually, after watching this movie, it's hard to think of him like running around in that ape suit for all those films. How much time that must have taken and how uncomfortable that must have been.
Now, if I ever was compelled to watch those shitty movies again, now I would just imagine that Cornelius is missing a cape and a steak.
He's hunting vampires during his off scenes.
He's hunting ape pyres.
Ape pyres. There you go.
Oh my God! Has somebody not made a movie about gorilla vampires?
Write it down. Crazy billionaire money. There you go. There's an idea.
Oh my God. Return to the Planet of the Capes.
And last on the leading characters, we have Stephen Jeffries, who played Evil Ed. He's best known for, well, Fright Night, and depending on what you're into, you might recognize him from a few other films.
Cast as Sam Ritter. And, I didn't bother doing the research to find any specific movie titles, but in the 90s, he did gay porn.
Apparently so. Apparently, oh God. Apparently Fright Night wasn't the only film where he got staked.
No, that was only his first introduction to wood.
Oh God.
Oh, you're so hard, Brewster.
We'll get into more of Evil Ed afterwards, but I have a lot to say about Evil Ed. So, this, I I love this movie. Definitely rates up there with the best vampire movies that I've seen. Just really fun. Not without its problems, of course, but overall, I would even go as far as saying that it probably makes into my top 5 vampire movies.
It has a special place in my cold black heart as well. What it lacks in sophistication, class, atmosphere, continuity, consistency, it makes up for in entertainment and effects.
For sure. So, seeing as we obviously have some good things to say about it, let's start off with what we liked.
There's a scene where the vampire confronts Charlie in his room and just kicks this kid's ass.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to mention that part because the part that makes the top of my list is the fact that afterwards, expecting another attack from Jerry, he fills his room with candles, holy icons, pictures of the Virgin Mary, crucifixes, candles, onions on string. Basically, his room looks like a Mexican graveyard.
I'm pretty sure that was garlic.
Right.
Maybe it was onions. Maybe he thought... he didn't seem to know much about vampires. Maybe he thought it was onions that repelled them.
Maybe he thinks like they're all bulbous.
He was out of garlic, so he just hung some onions. Maybe he thinks it's close enough. Whatever.
Yeah, these stink too.
Yes.
Yeah, so the fact that he laid his room out looking like a Mexican graveyard, and I know what a Mexican graveyard looks like, but you'll find out more about that on our second episode. And so what was your first one?
Oh, for me, first what struck me is the practical effects in this movie. I'm a sucker for the old school practical effects. I mean, CGI has come a long way since we started using it, and it's not going away. It's always going to be a part of movies now. But there's something about those, especially 80s, practical effects, these rubber dummies, all the latex prosthetics that the actors wore, the matting of different films together to create overlays to create all these. You can create burning explosions, and this movie was just ripe with it, and they were so well done. I really should look up who did the effects for this movie because they were spectacular.
I have the answer for that. Have you seen the movie Ghostbusters?
Have I seen the movie Ghostbusters? I'm not even going to get into it. I'll just say yes.
Yes. Well, the design team behind Ghostbusters is the ones that did the practical and special effects.
What?
So
seriously?
Yeah, so if you wondered, why do some of these creatures look like the ghosts from Ghostbusters? It's basically because they took the ghosts from Ghostbusters, learned from the mistakes they made, because that movie was their learning experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ghostbusters was their one where they made their mistakes, and they amped it up for this one to be more efficient and precise in their effects.
That is absolutely amazing. Well, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense, because as much as I love Ghostbusters, it's arguably my favorite movie of all time. In some places, the special effects were a little rough. But yeah, that makes total sense. Because these special effects were pretty smooth.
Because you saw them, you previously saw them in a massive blockbuster smash hit, cult classic.
Amazing. So even some of the models, like some of the ghost models, were reused.
Well, if you notice, when some of the vampires die, they tend to look like either the close-up spook shots of the librarian.
Yeah,
or some various things that look like floating bones and shit.
Damn it, now I gotta go back and watch all those scenes again.
Damn it, now you made me watch Ghostbusters again. Screw you, Mike. Now I have to watch an enjoyable movie again.
I've only seen Ghostbusters maybe 60 times, so that's...
I tried showing some 80s movies to my nephews, and, first we did Ghostbusters, and I thought, yeah, that's a nice, harmless movie. Guy gets slime, they fight a marshmallow man, it's good for kids. I saw it as a kid, and I was fine. And then I saw the blowjob scene with the ghost, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot about the ghost blowjob scene.
A little spectral fellatio, that's all right.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to take these kids to Wholesome Town. Steven Spielberg. I'm going to show them E.T. What happens in the first 3 minutes? Kid's arguing with his brother and calls him penis breath. And I'm like, I forgot another blowjob reference. It seems like everything in the 80s was blowjobs.
Yeah, you may be right.
So, speaking of which, that takes us to a wonderful segue to my second favorite point of this movie, his mom. In numerous scenes, from the first scene, we get to see the mom. It's after Charlie and Amy are trying to fool around upstairs, but Charlie is distracted by the neighbor moving in with a coffin. So Amy takes off in a huff. The mom comes down. The mom is downstairs, and she made some allusion. I forget what it was to, but it was something sexual. And then she looks at Amy and says, "Oh, by the way, thanks for helping Charlie with his homework." All but winking and smiling and going,
Oh, at that scene, I wouldn't have been surprised to see her do the whole the head tilt with the wink, because yeah, she was hoping that her son just got some, for sure.
Yeah, that's a loving mom. Mm-hmm. And in the scene when Charlie is attacked in his bedroom, it begins with panning across the floor of his room, and you see Playboys, numerous Playboys, and they aren't showing like wind or water decay. Like, this isn't forest porn. This came from the store. Mm-hmm. And unless Charlie stole them, Mom bought them. And then after he gets his ass kicked by Charlie, the mom like comes into the hallway, doesn't see the destruction in his room, but she asks like, "Why were you screaming?" And he goes, "Oh, I just had a nightmare." And Mom works at the hospital, so she immediately offers him a Valium. And I'm just like, sex, drugs, and Playboy. This mom knows what a growing boy needs.
Absolutely. Best mom ever. Sorry, Mom. I know you're watching this. You're great. I love you. But Charlie's mom, wow.
You clearly could have tried harder, Mom. So what's your second?
My second, for what I like, would have to be the character Peter Vincent. Love this guy. Roddy McDowall did a fantastic job with this character. You could... The different stages of the character throughout the movie, starting from like the TV show host, when they first meet him, he's kind of got his nose in the air, very pompous, to finding out that he's having financial troubles. His show is canceled. He's having financial troubles. Doesn't want to help him with the problem whatsoever until he gets offered money. Then he's all in. Then discovering that vampires are real, just a fear. He just wants to do nothing but pack up and get out of there as fast as possible. And then to the end, busting in as the triumphant hero towards the end of the movie.
His balls drop, he finds his courage, and he finally, after 30 years of pretending to be a hero, mm-hmm. he finally has decided he's ready to try and become one. But when he first finds out that the guy's a vampire, just like Amy's mom, you can just tell like he was holding back his, he was just about to go like zoinks, and then like jump in the air, swing his feet back and forth, take off in a cloud of smoke, and then leave a hole in the wall shaped like him with the cape.
Oh, absolutely! It was about to be a whole Scooby-Doo first monster look at the monster scene for sure.
Yeah, he was about to leave a Vincent-shaped hole in that wall with a cloud of smoke.
I liked it. He was definitely showing off his acting chops in this film.
He developed. That is just like when a character is done right, they grow and develop. And he starts off from a sniveling, pathetic, cowardly schmuck to an actual, genuine, I'm ready to face the forces of darkness hero.
Absolutely. And his name is Peter Vincent. A combination of Peter Cushing, Vincent Price. And you could actually see both of those actors in his portrayal of Peter Vincent.
Yeah.
There was elements of both, for sure.
Yep. Sophistication, class, and a certain degree of like reservation and cowardice.
You got it. Absolutely.
So, speaking of cowardice, that takes us to the things that I've kept on alluding to several times, the room attack. That is my third and final favorite thing about this movie. And we noticed that Jerry's a vampire, but every movie has different vampires. Like some, they try to use charm. Others, they're not that much stronger. We have there's always you need to demonstrate just how fucking imposing this vampire is. Mm-hmm. You can't just have him bite the neck of a woman that he's already put the whammy on. Like, it's just bullshit. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. You need him to demonstrate an attack against someone who's prepared for him, but also completely not. And when Charlie he confronts Charlie in the room, and Charlie attacks him, and he just throws Charlie around the room like a rag doll, and like picks him up, drags him across the room, which also is an incredible use of special effects, because it turns out like the guy was on a dolly as he like picks Charlie up and slides him across the room from one side of the room to another. Excellent special effects. And like even the preface when he breaks the mom's door because he doesn't want to be interrupted.
Right.
And then like when he's trying to kill Charlie, he just has this, well, this will take me to the point I don't like, which, but I'll just end by saying that the room attack was in itself an immense demonstration of this guy's power, menace, the fact that he's completely onto the kid now, and the kid cannot be prepared for this.
That's
like
right.
No amount of preparation or push-ups is going to help you against this guy.
That's right. You're right, absolutely. It was a fantastic scene. Had a great shot of calling back to the practical effects that I mentioned earlier, when Charlie stabs him through the hand with a pencil. Just fantastic, absolutely.
Well, that takes us to things that we didn't like. And sadly, in this scene was the first thing I didn't like, which was his reservation that he had killing Charlie. Like, he doesn't show an obvious sign of guilt, but considering like he's got all this time to kill him, he is way too lackadaisical. Like, given the fact that he has ruthlessly dispatched other people probably a whole lot quicker, he really takes his time killing Charlie, allowing Charlie to grab a pencil and stab him in the hand with it, leading him to recoil backwards instead of just using his other hand to just be like, oh, now I'm going to have to fucking kill you now. No, he recoils in horror for some unknown reason, morphs into this weird half-demon thing, but instead of you thinking, oh shit, now he's powered up, now Charlie's double fucked, he decides, oh, I'm going to walk away now, which, like,
yeah,
it didn't make any sense.
It did not.
He
It
had
it
every
seemed so
advantage.
strange because obviously he's a vampire. He has no problem with killing, and to me it seemed like if he took care of Charlie right then, his problem is over.
Yeah, and his hand healed pretty quickly enough to show that he can regenerate. It's not like, fuck,
Is it possible that he has a soft spot for kids? Maybe.
And that might be something later on, like maybe because like maybe that's why like he took his time killing Charlie, because he had to like he knew he had to do it, but he's just got this weird remnant of his humanity left. Mm-hmm. Where the other killings were like necessary for feeding, but this is like a choice to kill, not a need to kill.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Absolutely.
Maybe Jerry was a decent guy. But what was the first thing you didn't like?
Oh, and I know I'm going to get some hate from some listeners that really like this character, but Evil Ed, oh my god. There are very few movies where I've seen a character that annoyed me as much as this kid did. I don't know what was up with the voice, and I know what people are thinking, like, who's this jerk to make comments on how someone else's voice sounds, since, I sound like a grown-up Ernie from Sesame Street, but this was the most overreacted, just being annoying just for the sake of being annoying. The sound of his voice, the way he said things, like, you did a great impression of him earlier. Oh my god, it made me laugh so hard. And I don't know if I noticed this the first time I watched this movie when I was a kid, and it's probably because, when you're a kid, you're an annoying little shit anyway, so maybe you don't notice when someone else is being annoying. But as watching it now, like at my age, being as old as dirt as I am, wow, I couldn't wait. I could not wait for him to go away. Just please stop talking.
He's the anti Peter Vincent.
Oh, absolutely. And why were they friends with him?
He's got no redeeming qualities. It's not like he's annoying to everybody, but once you get to know him, he's a nice guy. No, when you get to know him, he's an even bigger cunt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there was nothing that I liked about him.
He wasn't a good friend. He wasn't loyal. He was just a complete bag of shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
really.
When Jerry, like Jerry as a vampire, has shown like restraint, even some degree of kindness, and like willing to give people a chance to survive if they just, get out of his business. But when Ed gets turned, he's like still just a complete bag of shit. It doesn't affect his personality. It doesn't make him like, ooh, a bad friend. Like, he's just like, yeah, he's a bad friend, but now he's hungry and he wants to eat you.
Yeah.
Like, great. Now you've turned him into an even bigger shitbag.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was possible.
The only good thing about Ed turning into a vampire is that now I would have had another excuse to kill him.
Or at the very least, I don't have to put up with him during the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So definitely he made the list of what I didn't like about this movie.
Yeah. And the second thing that I didn't like about this was, sadly, inconsistencies everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, like every time like a cop is brought in, never brought back again. The mom's brought in, we don't see her at the end of the movie. Like, no explanation as to like, oh, Charlie, I was going to clean your room after doing the laundry, and, did you, like, just drop a fucking grenade in your room? Because it is destroyed. There are holes everywhere, and your window is shattered. You're at least grounded, or, like, have you been listening to the Clash?
Yeah.
Like, are you like trying to cut yourself with the glass? Like, are you feeling all right? Like, oh, there's so many fucking inconsistencies. Like, there's an attack in the club. The cops, like, they should have been fucking tearing through Jerry's place after the massacre at the club, because everybody describing a man with fangs throwing a man the size of a fucking refrigerator through a floor. We should have the cop going like, oh, wait a second, that Brewster kid told me his neighbor's a vampire and he's killing people. Just like he told us that he killed a redheaded girl, and then we found a decapitated girl with red pubes later on.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right, because it was the 80s, so even if she, even if you didn't find her head,
you at least know her hair color.
There was no bodyscaping going on. Not a lot, anyway, during the 80s, so...
Everything was blown out back then.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, you're right, because Charlie's room gets absolutely wrecked. Another scene in the movie, the stair banister and a table, I think, gets smashed.
Oh yes, the glorious scene of Ed's comeuppance.
Oh.
Where he gets stabbed and the boy is like the special effects on like you said, the special effects. This is basically like, I don't know which came out. When did American Werewolf come out?
Oh, 82, I think.
Okay, so it definitely this ripped off American Werewolf, because we get to see basically the John Landis transformation scene, but in reverse. Because Ed, for some reason, turns into a wolf, even though Jerry doesn't.
Well, we didn't see it anyway. Maybe he can. Maybe he just prefers a bat.
Yeah, Jerry turns into a bat. Ed turns into a wolf. Like, who knew what Amy would have turned into, like a cat or a panther? But apparently everybody has a spirit animal, and turning into a vampire unlocks it.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see Ed die in a glorious fashion. But again, with all the destruction in the room caused by that, you think the mother would come home, because like she's not there in the movie, because like it's written that she's working a double shift at the hospital. But you'd think that there would be at least a scene when everything's done. Like, sun rises, the Jerry's dead and everything, and as they come home, Mom goes into the living room, and you should hear her scream like, "What the fuck?"
That would have been a great scene. Yeah.
Why is your dead naked friend on my floor?
She wouldn't have thought anything of it. She would have saw him and was like, "Oh, thank God, Ed's dead."
Wait a second, you killed Ed and you didn't invite me?
Well, you mentioned a scene at a club. So that's going to lead directly into something else that I didn't like about this movie. Just, maybe I'm nitpicking, but it's just one scene in particular. I think you know where I'm going with this.
Oh boy, do I.
There is a painfully long and awkward dance scene. When Jerry, the vampire, gets Amy, Charlie's girlfriend, under his power, it's while they're at a club. They're on a dance floor. They're doing... There's an 80s disco song playing. they're doing some very odd 80s. I don't even know how to describe it. I've never seen anything like it before. That's why I don't know how to describe it.
It's like I'm kind of glad you got like a chance to show Amanda Bierce being sexy.
Because
But
honestly, like I said, not that I was very interested at the time, like when I first saw this movie, but like I never found her very attractive. So she actually did get a chance to look, attempt. She was trying her best to act sexy in that scene.
and she would have pulled it off if, like, one, she was dressed like friggin' Betty Cooper, which did not help.
No.
And the second part was that Charlie's on the phone trying to call Peter Vincent, saying like, "Oh, we're being attacked and all that." One, why of all places are you trying to call someone in a club when it's so fucking loud? A phone call is like the most ineffective way to talk to somebody. Like, at least call from the pizza place across the street or something. But again, he decides, instead of like grabbing the girl and fucking off to his place, he just like stands there, like basically taunting Charlie, waiting for him to turn around and be like, "Yo, I got your bitch."
Exactly. It did almost try to redeem itself, because some of the scenes when they were dancing, they used to cut to the far side of the dance club had mirrored walls. And when they would cut to that scene, you would see Amy just dancing by herself, because of course Jerry has no reflection.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool the way they did that. But just that scene, at the very least, if not taken out altogether, it really should have been cut down.
Yeah, like why dancing? Like, he could have just like aimed his fingers at her, done like the old Bela Lugosi finger wave with the hand at eye level, and be like, "Come to me,
Exactly.
my child." Like, just like say nothing and just let his fingers do the talking, so to speak.
And nobody on the dance floor noticed that there's this, like, probably 40-year-old guy getting a little bit of under the skirt finger action with this teenage girl.
Yeah, nobody wondered, like, why does somebody who looks like my friggin' science teacher finger blasting my classmate?
That's it, yeah. So shortly after that scene, the movie really does pick up its steam again. There's a great scene when Jerry is encountered by the bouncers. But that scene itself, the whole dance scene, really needed to be cut back.
It's a turd on a Sunday.
It is just
like
too
the
much.
club is a great attack scene, and again an excellent demonstration of Jerry's power, and the fact that, like, at this point Jerry does not fucking care about subtlety.
No.
This whole time he's been concealing his identity, trying to discredit Charlie, and now he just slashes a bouncer's throat and then picks up another one who looks like fucking Michael Clark Duncan.
Oh, yeah.
And launches him across the floor like he's bowling for bouncers. And
The guy was a fridge with limbs, and he just chucks him across the dance floor.
like, he's just absolutely demonstrating his complete power and fangs in public. And everybody just like bolts the fuck out, leading to seeing some amazing extras, including a vault dweller from Fallout, a Michael Jackson, a gender swapped Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And a race swapped Michael Jackson.
We are definitely,
at least at the time.
We're definitely going to have to post some of those screenshots on the social media for sure,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it's worth it. So, Mike, anything else about the film you didn't like?
Well, the third part was there's this little tiny plot point that gets played up as Charlie's going through Jerry's things. He finds a painting that looks just like his Amy, and even at one point when Billy is asking Billy, his manservant Renfield pool boy,
Oh yeah, we'll get the Billy. Don't worry.
he asks him like, "Well, she really looks like her, doesn't he?" And he mentions something, and again, all I hear is Jack Skellington's voice saying like, "She reminds me of somebody I knew long ago." And I was just thinking like, Sally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, it brings up this past connection, which it pisses me off as a bad thing, because it should have been explored. Like, either we see a flashback to like when he was human and she's the one that turned him into a vampire, and then she was like burned at the stake or something, like some tragic backstory showing that like where she said like, "I will find you."
Yeah.
And then, like, that would explain his connection to her. Or that when he turns her into a vampire, that she actually, like, awakens as her.
Recovers
and
her
she's
memories
like,
from
"Yes,
the
I
past
found
life.
you."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she has to choose, and then, like, she's torn between being Amy and his whoever this unnamed love of his is. It could have been such an amazing, immense plot twist where Charlie has to fight her and she isn't holding back because she isn't her. Like, she is the reincarnated love.
Yeah.
So it's such like an unexplored point of immense potential.
Yeah, they really needed to explain it more, be more in depth with it, or if not, cut it out altogether.
Yeah, it's a movie that performs well in spite of its many, many flaws.
Oh, definitely. It has some big plot holes, and none bigger than someone you mentioned a little while ago, Billy, Jerry's manservant. Honestly, the whole thing about Billy was just confusing. Because first when you see him, you see him the very first time, he's helping Jerry carry the coffin into the new house. You see him again not long after that. He's he's talking to Charlie, telling him to stay away. But he's out in the sunlight, so you figure, okay, he has a human servant. And which would make sense. If you're a vampire, you'd want somebody that can take care of things during the day and protect you.
Pay the rent, make sure that nobody goes snooping around the house.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you don't know much about him, and then he meets his demise towards the end of the film. He takes... Peter Vincent empties a gun into Billy, including a shot to the head.
Yeah, that's what he opens up with.
Opens up with a shot to the head, tells him to back away, shoots him in the head, he falls in the stairs. 5 seconds later, he's up coming after them again.
Except this time now he's shown to have an amazing superpower, the ability to generate fog inside a closed house.
Oh yeah, somehow him falling down the stairs activated a fog machine. That was weird. At first I thought it was, wow, okay, Peter Vincent is emptying the gun. I was like, okay, wow, I just thought he's shooting, that's smoke coming from the gun, it's just gun smoke. But then it just totally envelops the entire staircase.
Yeah.
So that was strange. And we don't know anything about Billy. Like, it's not explained. We don't find out. We can find out now what it is. Now we have, watching it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. What was his story? So I can just go Google it, bring up the Fright Night Wikipedia, find out all the details. We get the story that he's most likely what's known in vampire lore as a thrall, which is somebody that a vampire has turned but not made into a full vampire. They're kind of stuck halfway. They don't have the vampire's full powers. They have some, but they don't have the vampire's full weaknesses either. A ghoul, basically. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fine for now, but in, 1985, you're watching this in a theater or, sometime down the road and you've got it rented on VHS, you have no idea what's going on with Billy. They really missed an opportunity to explain it a little further. You could have dealt with a backstory, because we like to know, like, besides what he is, how did he come into Jerry's service? Like, how's that story? Like, he's basically his at-home carpenter. Wouldn't it be great to have something that would have explained how their relationship started?
Well, as luck would have it, I happened to do a little bit of Googling and found an audio copy of a deleted scene.
What? Really?
Absolutely. And it answers the question how these people met and how he came to be in his thrall.
Wow. So you're saying is this well known? Are you saying that we may have for our podcast, we may have some exclusive, never before heard audio?
Yes, we have something that explains a plot point and something that I like to call, it came from the cutting room floor.
Shing! Hello, Mr. Dandridge?
Please, call me Jerry. Thank you for showing me this house at such a late hour, Mr. Cole.
Well, considering the offer you said you're willing to make if you like the place, how could I refuse? And please, call me Bill.
So, tell me about the place, Billy.
Well, as you can see, it's a 2-story detached with brand new siding and...
Yes, I read the listing, but what can you tell me about the neighborhood? Do people keep to themselves, or can I expect a lot of visitors, like nosy kids meddling around my property and such?
Well, really don't know. I guess, I mean, that depends on you.
Are there many young promiscuous women in the neighborhood?
Well, I haven't really checked.
What can you tell me about the transient population? You know, people that no one would really notice if they just went missing?
These questions are starting to make me a little uncomfortable.
How's the prostitute situation here?
I have the number to a good escort service if you want.
Great! So, what would it take to block all the windows and soundproof the house?
Oh, well, actually, not much. I should know, before I got into the realtor business, I was a carpenter.
Really? Well, you may be more useful than I originally thought.
Excuse me, useful? Whoa, are you coming on to me? Because I'm not actually gay. Oh my god! Oh, it hurts! It hurts! Stop! I hurt! Oh, actually, that's not bad. I feel pretty good. So, what do you need from me, master?
Billy, how would you like to be bulletproof and powerful, but still be able to walk in the sun?
Sounds great. What do I have to do?
Serve me, clean up the bodies, attend to my daily and nightly needs, and I will share precious fluids with you and empower you.
The last part sounds a little gay.
You're wrong, Billy. It sounds a lot gay. Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it?
That was pretty good. Yeah, that would. They really should have left that in the original release. Just saying. I think it was nice, but I'm not sure what they recorded with. But the audio sounded a little off. The voices sounded a little different than it did for the rest of the film. Not sure why.
Yeah, I guess they must have had like different actors at the time. Or... Just like Eric Stoltz has that footage of him being Marty McFly that nobody ever sees.
There you go, yeah.
So they must have had like some lame podcasters as the as the voice talent before they decided, oh wait, we're not going to be releasing this as a radio serial.
Yes, exactly.
Too bad it's like putting one Band-Aid on a shotgun wound, because there's numerous other holes that will forever go unmended as to like what the hell happened to Charlie's dad. Are the cops looking for this Brewster kid?
Yeah.
After all this slaughter, and again, there's just so much.
Why was Charlie wearing a sport coat during the entire movie? That's a plot hole I'd like to know.
Oh yeah, and well, at least like we get to another mystery that does get solved is, why the hell was Jerry eating apples?
Yes, I mentioned that when I rewatched the movie for the second time just a few days ago. I think that may have been the very first message I sent you about the movie. Why is Jerry eating? Almost every scene that he's in, he's munching on an apple.
And the answer to that is in our second segment, production notes.
Yes. So you actually looked this up, why this was added to the movie?
Yes, and it's a very interesting case of actor knows best. Chris Sarandon just thought, well, if Jerry can turn into a bat, he must have some sort of bat DNA. And the fact that an actor in the 80s cared to even know about DNA just shows what an awesome, amazing, interesting guy this character is, this actor is. And he just thought, since Jerry can turn into a bat, he must have some bat DNA. And since most bats are frugivores, they subsist on fruit. So while like blood is what he needs, he can get by temporarily with apples. So that's just him thinking, hey, I'm going to be buying some apples. I'm going to be eating them on the scene.
Wow.
Don't stop me.
So what you're saying is that when he kills a person and drains their blood, that's like the going on a drinking binge, and then the next morning eating an apple is kind of like a little hair to dog. Just something to keep him pacified until the next kill.
That's his greasy eggs and bacon.
That is awesome. Wow. So they must have been okay with it. Is this something that they talked about first, I wonder, before they started filming these scenes? Or Did he just like stash apples all over the set? And when he started filming, he just pull an apple out, from behind inside the couch cushions or something, started munching on it, and eventually just said, Tom Holland was just screw it, whatever, just let him eat the damn apple.
I think there must have been like a young intern called Robert Downey Jr. who was helping him stash the apples, because he managed to repeat that trick in his later movies.
Yes, because that was a story that I think we were talking about it a while ago. Apparently, on the set of Avengers, there's a few scenes where Tony Stark is just like eating something, like he has little packages of food, he's eating it and offering it to some of the other characters. And apparently that wasn't scripted at all. This is Robert Downey Jr. used to hide food around the set and just start bringing it out. He could be in the middle of his lines and just all of a sudden come out with like a little package of food, a little bag of chips or something, and start eating it and then offering it to some of the others. And he kept doing it. They didn't know how he was doing it, where he was hiding it to, so eventually they just said, screw it, like, just leave it. So, I wonder if it's the same type of situation for Jerry and the apples.
So, any other production notes of note?
The only thing that I thought was pretty cool, there's a few, there's so much. You really need to do a wiki search of Fright Night, because it had some of the longest list of production notes I've ever seen on a movie. One of the interesting things I thought was that William Ragsdale spent a big part of the movie with his foot in a cast because he broke his ankle during one of the scenes. He's running downstairs, he trips, breaks his ankle. They had to take him to the hospital, get it put in a cast, and he's a trooper because he kept going. What they actually did was took one of his shoes and cut some slits into it so it could actually fit over his cast, and cover the slits with black cloth so it would block you from being able to see the cast underneath. So I mean that's pretty good. He's a young guy. He's hasn't done much work before this. Breaks his ankle, doesn't even slow down production.
No, that guy is a team player.
Absolutely. So Mike, what did we think of this movie overall?
I got to give it 2 fangs up. It is just, like I said, like usually when a movie's got plagued with this many flaws, it just leads to more. It's like a domino effect, like more problems, and the whole movie's a big clusterfuck. This one, it was like a great movie despite its many flaws. Like it still comes out as immensely entertaining.
That is so true. Even with all the very big plot holes like we mentioned throughout this episode, still definitely one of the highlights of horror in the 80s for me.
Yeah,
like you said, they pulled it off.
Effects, charm, atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah, and they pulled it off so well despite all the problems that they had during the production. And like I said, check the Wikipedia. Mike read off a list of a lot of them to me the other night, and some of the stuff that happened to the actors is just I would have walked off the set. I'd be like, nope, screw you guys, I'm done. This is not worth it. Yep. Keep your $2.5 million.
Yep.
But yeah,
I don't care what you're sneaking out of the budget. It's not enough.
Absolutely. Fully recommend it. You got to check it out. If you're a fan of 80s horror, practical effects, vampire movies, you need to watch Fright Night from 1985.
And if you ever watch Married with Children and wondered, I wonder what Marcy Darcy's nipples look like through white sheer satin, well, you can find out.
She looked much better as a vampire. After her turn, like she turned, like despite the gaping mouth prosthetic they had put on her, she actually looked pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So absolutely, but we both loved it. We highly recommend it. You need to check it out if you haven't seen it, and if you have, do yourself a favor, watch it again. Look at it with a fresh set of eyes. You're gonna love it. It had
a fresh set of orange glowing eyes.
Yes, and it had some great kills. Especially 3 in particular, but we have a favorite, and I'm going to let Mike take care of that with a segment we like to call Mike's Kill of the Week.
My Kill of the Week. There are a few glorious kills in here and a few off-screen kills, but for me, I think that Sheldon agrees with me, is the wonderful and well-deserved termination of Evil Ed.
Yeah.
And it starts with him waiting for, I guess he's waiting for Charlie. But Peter Vincent goes into Charlie's house looking for his mom, because at this point he's pussed out. He's looking for reinforcements. Charlie's down for the count. He's been knocked out. And so he's looking for any reinforcements. He's decided the mom would be a good recruit, despite the fact that he would have to spend about a good hour trying to convince her. But he's in a panic state, so thinking is not his strong suit. He's rushing through the house, and he finds Mrs. Brewster, who suddenly has red hair, sleeping in her bed. As he closes in, it turns around and finds out that it's Evil Ed waiting to kill him. And he has a note saying that, "Oh, Charlie's dinner's in the oven." And I'm like, please kill this fucker. And then he turns into a wolf. And we, again, like, wow, vampires can do this? Apparently any thrall can do this. So he turns into a wolf and he charges down the hallway, chasing after Peter Vincent, who has collapsed onto a hall table and shattered it. And so we get to see a broken leg. As the wolf lunges towards him, he stabs him in the heart with the chair and sends him careening through the balcony, leading to a massive pile of blood and fur on the main foyer as he reverts from wolf form slowly and painfully. You can like hear bones cracking, see them shifting under the skin, and he just like turns into like this wolf demon beast and then graduates into boy form. And you could just and it's not just Evil Ed dying, it's the look of pain and suffering on Peter's face as like he's defended himself, he's done what he has to do, but he takes no joy in it because he knows that he has killed a kid, a teenage boy, someone who had a chance at life and who just through no fault of his own is in this precarious position, and he's had to just extinguish this poor boy's life. And you see the pain. He even reaches out to him, and it's not like grabbing his hand would do anything except let him bite you as he dies, because it's a fucking cunt and he'd do that.
Oh yeah, he would do that with his final breath, just like try to take a chunk out of him,
or he'd be like, "I turned you." So
yeah, it goes. You're absolutely right. It's a great scene. It looked very painful, and like the look of Peter Vincent's face, once again, just a testament to Roddy McDowall's acting, because it was absolute sorrow on his face. That, this had to be done, but it wasn't like he was looking at him, smugly, "Take that, foul creature," or anything like that. He really didn't like having to do that.
Yeah, and again, like the beautiful special effects, like if basically you're watching an American Werewolf in London in reverse, and then as Ed turns into a boy, the wound he has sustained of a crucifix burned into his flesh and given to him by Peter Vincent fades away, letting you know that like his soul has found peace.
Or has it?
Yep, at the end of the movie, you get to hear, as it fades to black with Amy finally putting out, all you hear is the voice, "You're so cool, Brewster."
God damn it.
He's fucking alive. And somehow still a vampire. Or, well, no, we don't know if he's a vampire or not.
We don't know. This just goes to another plot hole in the movie, because we don't know what happened to Ed.
There's so many, the inconsistencies. Again, when Jerry dies, Amy, who was turned by him, becomes human. Ed, it would be scary enough if Ed is just still like, "Oh, by the way, I became human, even though I sustained a fucking hole in my heart. But, Jerry died, so now I'm human." Like, he would still have to have regenerated from that wound as a vampire to still be alive. Like, nothing makes sense. No. He was killed. I mean, you get to see the crucifix stain go away, which, as we've seen in Hammer films, whenever somebody who's been wounded by a crucifix, the scar only goes away under two things: when they've been healed or when they've been killed and their soul is purified. Yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely left it. But it goes to show how good the rest of the movie is, because even with these plot holes, still great.
And an honorable mention goes to Billy, who I guess like the guys on the set must have been like, okay, Billy has to die. Now we have 3 special effects we can use. and we don't have any, like, we can't keep them afterwards. Like, the gel's not going to stay, or, you know, this glitter is just like, we don't have enough for a full use in any other movie. We got all these scrap special effects. So which one are we going to use? And the director, through some twist of, well, it's the 80s, so I'm going to assume cocaine, said, okay, all of them. Well, what's going to happen? Is he going to melt, disintegrate, or explode? Both, all, three. Yes, all.
Yeah. It was a great scene, too. Actually, the three main deaths, like Ed's, Billy's, and Jerry's, if you had picked either one of them, I would have been in full agreement, I think. Because all great. Just check out the movie. It's so much fun. Love it. And we have a little bonus for Fright Night as well, because the story didn't end with this movie. Now, there was a sequel and a remake, which I think we're going to save for another episode because they're worth their own episode in their own right. But if you wanted to see the continuing adventures of Charlie and Peter Vincent, there was actually a long-running comic book series after this movie was released.
3 years.
Something I had no idea about until you sent me all the info on it, and I consider myself a big comic book fan, so, you know, a title I might have to give up after, you know, realizing I had no idea this even existed.
Your comic game is weak, my friend.
Apparently so, and I even sent an email to all the comic book stores I visit to to ask them if they can find this for me, to let me know, because you sent me the info, just saw the covers and a brief description of each title, each issue, and they seem fantastic. I really, really want to find these. I've got to read all of them.
Oh yeah, the plot sounds amazing. We get to see him fight like werewolves, ghosts, I think.
Ghosts.
Aliens.
They're traveling all over the world, like almost like a supernatural type of thing. They're almost like, you know, the original Sam and Dean. They're going all over the place, checking out all these mysteries, putting a stop to what's going on. They hunt other vampires, werewolves, ghosts, squid monsters, I think one of them said, some kind of sea creatures. And wasn't there even aliens at one point?
Yeah, aliens. And there's like a vampire cult. And, like, amazingly enough, they thought it worthy of their time to resurrect, or to seek to resurrect, Jerry Dandridge. And after 3 issues, they eventually do. And apparently Jerry is such an imposing force that Evil Ed asks to join forces with Charlie to stop him. Like, again, like, how in the comics would they justify him turning on his master? Or,
I don't know.
Of course,
so
Charlie...
he's obviously not under his control or anything.
Yeah. And Charlie, he's just fucking done with him. So he refuses. So that it means that Evil Ed, at the end of the comic, decides to kill Jerry himself. But we never know what comes of it because there was a cliffhanger and the fucking next issue was never made.
Damn it.
This was like, this could have been Ed's redemption. Or at least we get to see him die in an immensely permanent fashion.
See, I wouldn't have been so, I wouldn't have had such a problem with Evil Ed in the comics, because at least I don't have to hear his voice. I can replace his voice with whatever I want it to, so he might be a little more palatable for me.
At least you'd be like, well, he's just an annoying villain, rather than a shrill, annoying villain.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's voice, I mean, like, just imagine Steve from American Dad, but as a prick.
Oh my god. You nailed it, man. Like a more sarcastic and annoying, more sarcastic and annoying Steve. Wow. I didn't even see. Now I can't watch American Dad because that's all I'm going to hear every time Steve speaks. Not that I watch a lot of American Dad, but
you're so cool, Dad.
Oh my god.
So,
but yeah, check those out. If anybody, if you find those, please let me know because I want to get my hands on those.
Send
comics.
us scans.
Yeah,
something.
Absolutely. Anything.
Share this with us, please.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up episode 1 of the Graveyard Shift with Sheldon and Mike. Mike, so glad we got a chance to do this, buddy.
Oh, me too.
It was great. Thanks so much for being a part of this. And thank you all for listening. You can get in contact with us if you have any suggestions of movies you'd like for us to watch on the show. Any horror news that you have, or if you just want to chat, we're open to it. You can email us at the graveyardshiftpod@gmail.com, not the. You can check us out on Twitter at GYS_horrorpod.
And you can check us out on Facebook at The Graveyard Shift Pod. If you're wondering what podcast Sheldon and I met on, it was my podcast, the Playing with Power podcast, where me and my two co-hosts, John and Ben, read each and every issue of Nintendo Power from the first to the last, front to back. And Sheldon was a guest on that, and we immediately felt a kinship or a bromance or something.
Absolutely.
Like we realized...
You're my horror bud, Mike.
Yep, we realized we got along, and Sheldon was a great guest. And so great that I decided, you know what, Sheldon, would you like to do a podcast? And he's like, well, I suppose I could talk about this and that. And I'm like, you're going to, and you're doing it with me.
Yeah, it's if you're a fan of if you were a fan of Nintendo Power back in the day and you're a fan of retro video games, then absolutely you need to check it out. The guys are great.
Yep, that's Playing with Power podcast. You can find it on iTunes, Google Music Store. You can also find it on playingwithpowerpodcast.com and facebook.com/playingwithpowerpodcast.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you'd like to support the show, there's a few ways you can do that. We are certainly open to a monetary donation. You can go to patreon.com/graveyard and make a donation, but of course there's other ways to help. Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, Google Play will certainly help us out a ton. And simply, if you're a fan of the show, simply share it with other people. Post it on our links to social media. Get the word out.
Yeah, we'll try to get some delicious rewards for Patreon donors, like, say, extended episodes. Because an hour is good, but what if you wanted just a little bit more?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we'll put some nice Patreon bonuses up there for you. I want to give special thanks to Jeff Newhook, who created the logo for us. And our theme song was created by axtech.com. Check them out for royalty-free music. They have a great site. Whatever you're looking for, you're bound to find something that fits the theme on their site. So, Mike, why don't you tell them what we've got in store for next week?
Oh, we plumb the dooky depths as we watch a Mexican 50s Weird West horror, The Beast from Hollow Mountain.
Wow. I cannot wait to talk about this one. It's going to be great.
They're not all going to be classics, folks. If you watch any horror movies, you know that they're good, the bad, the ugly, and the unmentionable, unwatchable. Why the fuck did anybody pour money into making this crap fest? And nothing is sacred or unwatchable to us.
No, we'll either tell you all the good stuff. We'll talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, what we liked, what we didn't. And we've got no problem taking a bullet for you guys.
Yeah, we have no problem telling you exactly why you should stay away or indulge.
So that's it for us. I'm Sheldon.
I'm Mike, and thank you for joining us on The Graveyard Shift.
See you in your nightmares. Good job, Mike.